Hi, so for today's video, we're going to be sewing up the Sicily slip dress, and this is a pattern by Masin. This is a PDF pattern. I downloaded it off of Etsy, and I've seen so many videos. I watched all the tutorials on how to make this dress, and I'm like, it seems easy, but a little tricky, and I'm going to be doing stuff that I have never done before, like cut or sew a dress on the bias. And I don't usually work a lot with these like slinky type of materials, although I want to, but I know it's like a little bit trickier, or it can be. So this is going to be a first time. Hopefully if I make mistakes, you can learn from my mistakes too. This dress is super easy. It's simple. I'm going to be making view A, which is just the spaghetti strap with the cowl neck, and it's a midi length. She said in the introduction that view A is easier than view B, so definitely going to try view A first. Plus, this is the style I want. I'm using this, I want to say this is like I'm not good at naming or identifying materials. I want to say this is a polyester kind of like, is this viscose? I don't know. But it is just a very lightweight but not see-through material, and it has a really nice drape on it, which I think that's why it will look good with a cowl neck. Like if I kind of go like this, it kind of naturally drapes nicely. Yeah, so we're gonna try and do this. It has a wrong side and a right side. I can tell only by the flowers. The lighter side of the flower is the wrong side, and the darker flower is the right side. So I love PDF patterns, like just love it. I prefer it over the regular kind of like old-fashioned pattern. I don't mind putting it together, and you know, I buy printer paper from Target and it's really cheap, so I don't mind if it's like 50 pages, which this one was. The pattern pieces are really big because you can only cut it out. You can't fold it over and cut it out. It has to be cut it out one layer. So you do the front, the back, and the straps, which I have all done right here. And I'm being very delicate with this because you don't want to pull it. Once you cut it, you do not want to like stretch it out in any way. Like even the first tip of this pattern that we're going to do is going to be a stay stitch, which is going to be a seam about 1/8 of an inch from the edge, just to keep it from stretching. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I just wanted to do a little intro and my concerns about it. I also, in the pattern, it says to do a French seam. I don't know if I want to do the French seam. I'm going to try to do it just a serger stitch and see if that's okay, because to me, a French seam, it will look nicer on the inside than seeing like the fraying edge or a zigzag stitch, but I think it adds like a little bit of bulk on the sides, which I don't know. We will see. I'll do the serger and then try it on, and then if it pulls weird or anything, then we'll do the French seam. So I did the smallest size. I think it was size A. All the videos I watched said that it is bigger. It usually ends up bigger. So do not go, if you're in between sizes, don't go bigger. I have a hard time figuring out what size I am. Usually I'm a small, or sometimes an extra small. Like when it's European sizes, I get really confused. I'm usually like the very smallest, and sometimes that's too big. But American size, I'm small. So I don't know. We're doing size A and seeing how that works. The first step, I'm going to take my two pieces, the front and the back, and I'm going to do a stay stitch starting from the hem to the top. And I guess you do this so that you don't accidentally pull it and then stretch it out in a weird way before you even start sewing. And also doing a stay stitch at the bottom hem, not doing one at the top. Okay, so I set up my needle. In case you need to reference this, I used, you know, before I started this sewing like this past year, I never changed my needle like ever. So now I know better, and I'm using this needle. I'm guessing this is the right one. It's lightweight fabric, so it seems like it's a little bit thinner and sharper. Before I was using a stretch needle and a twin stretch needle, so I really needed to change that out. If you have not ever tried, a twin needle is amazing, and I was wondering why my machine could not sew knits well, and it's because the needle. Go figure. I know people who are experienced be like, yeah, duh, that's like the whole, like, that's the workhorse of the machine, right? But I did not realize. So I did a test stitch and it looks good. I am using a gray bobbin just because in there, and this is just a stay stitch and a dark blue thread on the top. I have my walking foot, which I got on Amazon, that I love, and I think it really benefits knit fabric, but I think it'll work well with this slippery fabric too. So I'm gonna leave that on. I mean, I have it on like 90% of the time anyways. And the new things, if you didn't watch my last video, I got this sewing machine, a muffling mat, because I use like this plastic Costco table for my sewing table, and when I'm going fast on the machine, my machine is like bouncing around, like literally jumping around. All the things behind my machine are falling off the table. So this is amazing, and I got it from Madam Sew. They actually sent it to me to try it for free, and I love it. I also got this light, which is so amazing, so easy to attach, but it's like an LED light. It's a special brightness. It's like a blue purple, I guess, light. So it's easier to see the stitches, way better than this yellowish light. I don't know. This machine is old, so that's why it's probably like that. But this light is way better, and you can adjust. So, you know, it's just fun little sewing gadgets. Okay, and so when you sew, I guess, with a bias cut piece, you don't want to pull it in any way. So you want to make sure that your material is going to be on the table instead of hanging off the table, so it's not pulling on one side. I'm going to move my needle over 1/8 of an inch to the left, just because that's how my machine works. And I'm going to align this edge up to the center of my walking foot. So when I have a really thin fabric, my machine tends to like eat it at the very edge. So I'm starting a little bit further in than at the very edge. And if I put my needle down, that usually works better too. So I'm just going to go ahead and sew like how the areas that I said before. And yeah. Okay, so I finished my stay stitching, and just a note so you can learn from my mistakes. If you have to err on like a side, like sewing it more than 1/8 of an inch or less, definitely do more, because in doing this really fast, I went over the edge and it created a weird little pool. So I had to cut the part that went over, and I had to redo it because it was pulling it, yeah, weirdly. So just FYI. So the next step will be to serge or zigzag the bottom edge of your front piece, or I guess I would say the top of the cowl neck fold over piece, and the bottom area of the back facing. So right here. And I'm going to be doing that face up because then we're going to fold it under. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that on my serger. If you don't have a serger, you can do a zigzag stitch. Okay, and then now we're going to press the seam up 1/4 of an inch. And I have my handy over the washing machine ironing mat and my Cricut Easy Press Mini and a spray bottle with water in it. And this is one of those like nice continuous spray ones, so you can get like a nice even mist. I'm just gonna fold it up 1/4 of an inch and press. And I'm using the lowest setting so I don't burn my material. I tried pressing this and it doesn't press really well, so just do your best. And I really love this mat because I don't have space for the ironing board in my sewing area, so this kind of is like a 2-in-1 thing. And then if it's having a hard time staying, I just clip it. And then I'm just going to sew a straight stitch right down here. And so I'm going to do that for the other side too, the very top, the cowl neck area. And when I press things, I generally don't do this, maybe because I have this kind of like iron, but I just go and press it directly up and down. Okay, so I finished this seam. This is what it looks like from the back, and this is what it looks like from the front. So it looks really nice and neat. Next are going to be the straps. So I already did this one. We're going to fold it right sides together in half lengthwise. And then we're going to stitch it with 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. So it's going to be very, very skinny. And it says if you have a loop turner, that makes it a lot easier. And I agree. So I actually bought a loop turner just for this project. I mean, it's not expensive. It's like $5 or something on Amazon. I'll link it down below. Any sewing supply store should have it. You could also use a bobby pin, sew a thread in to one side and pull it out, but I don't know. I figure I could use it for other things too. Anyways, I'll go ahead and sew this first. Just gonna clip it so it stays in place. Okay, I figure I show you since this is kind of a tricky part. I put a pin here so I can keep my material together. It kind of wants to slip apart. And we are just going to sew with 1/4 inch inseam. Yeah, it's going to be so skinny. Okay. Okay, so now we can trim. It says to trim it to 3 millimeters. Geez. I'm just going to make it a little bit skinnier. I don't know, it's pretty skinny, and these are too big. Okay, so I'm going to try out this loop turner. Try the easier one first that I didn't mess up. Okay, there's actually instructions. I should have looked at that first. I was doing it totally wrong. Okay, so you need to have this thing go through the material like that. And then make it close and then pull it. How do you get it through the material though? If there is a trick to this, please let me know. So I saw one girl making this dress and she said the part that took the longest was turning the straps inside out. So I've been kind of like dreading this, and yes, it is probably the most time consuming part so far. All right. Yay. Oh my gosh. Okay. So yay, it came out. Okay, and then the next thing it says to do is to pin it to your ironing board or mat and then iron it down. Okay, so that's the one strap. I won't bore you with me doing the next one, but I'll let you know how long it takes. Okay, it took me 5 minutes of being on the struggle bus. So the key, I think, is to make sure you hook it like this so that the edge of the material is caught in this loop. And then you hold over here, pull down, and pull it out. I might have to keep those instructions, to be honest. So I have my front of my dress, right side facing me, and I fold it over the cowl just to match up the armhole and the edge, you know, that you cut out. I didn't realize, but I cut this out so like jaggedy. So now it says to put the straps in, and it looks like the seam part is facing upwards, and you want to get it as close to the fold as possible. So this is my fold. I'm gonna stick it right here and make sure the strap parts are inside. I guess I'll put this one in too. So just lay it there, fold it over, and then we'll kind of fiddle with it. Okay, so I got it all the way in there. I'm gonna just pin it. And then pin the armhole. We're gonna just serge from here to here with a 3/8 inch seam allowance, either zigzag or serge, up to you. Okay, so this is what it looks like. And then it says to clip every inch or so. I guess I can just clip a little bit through the serger, not going through the middle stitch line, if you can see. Okay, and then now we're going to turn it out, right side out, and it says to just like finger press the seam allowance towards the facing. And then we're going to understitch as much as we can, meaning we're going to sew maybe like an inch or 1/8 of an inch on the facing with the seam allowance underneath. Does that make sense? So I'm going to be stitching right here as far as I can go up. You won't be able to go all the way up because it gets just too narrow over here. But my goal is to like reach here at least. Okay, so this is the facing, this is the dress. We're going to turn the seam allowance under to the right. And just going to stitch it along here. So just go slow. Make sure you're feeling underneath the fabric to make sure the seam allowance is in the correct position. And then when you get towards the point, make sure nothing is underneath. And I'll probably only stitch up to here. Okay, so now we're going to do this diagram with the straps. So I have my back piece with the right side up and my facing piece right side down, kind of matching. And then I'm going to pull out my straps, so my 2 straps, and with the right side down, we're going to pin these straps into this part. So it looks like it goes straight up. So you don't want it to twist. The seam of the strap is facing in. And I'm just going to place it right in the middle and maybe clip it there. Then put the facing over. Hold it in place and then clip it all together. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing for this side. I don't know if I should stitch or serge. I think I'll serge. It seems like it'll be okay. So I'll serge all the way around. Hopefully this is the right size strap. I don't know. Some people have said that they needed to make the straps longer. So I'm just trusting the process. I did make the smallest size, so hopefully it's not too small. Otherwise, I'm going to have to take out this area and then redo it. Okay, actually, I changed my mind. I'm going to use my sewing machine to do this, just so I can get that clean, like, turn around the strap part. Also, if I need to adjust the straps, I think taking out a stitch will be a lot easier than taking out the serge. So I'm just feeling around for the strap, making sure it's going straight down and not getting caught in the seams. So now I'm going to pivot. If I was like 100% sure about the seam or the, I mean this strap length, I would double stitch right at the end, but since I'm not, I'm just going to do a single stitch so I can take it out later if needed. Okay, so now I'm going to kind of try this on like over my head and see if it looks okay. Okay, so I clipped it at the top underarm seams, trying not to pull anything, and then yeah, I think that looks good. This cowl neck will work. And just looking at the rest of the dress, I think, yeah, it's the right size. It might be a little, actually no, this is the only part that worries me, the waist part, but I think with the give, it'll be okay. Yeah, so far it looks good. Okay, so since I was happy with the fit, I did go and search all the way around on the raw edge, and I'm super happy with the decision that I decided to stitch and then serge. There's no way I would have been able to get that crisp like line with the serger. Like yeah. So now we're gonna just clip let me turn around this way so I can see that middle stitch in the serge. I'm just gonna clip around every about an inch or so, and then we're going to understitch just like the last time. So we're gonna turn this right side out, kind of pressing the seam toward the facing as much as you can, and we're going to understitch this part, and as much as we can this part, and as much as we can this part, so they won't connect. It'll be 3 separate rows of stitches, I guess, but it'll just keep the facing down better. Okay, so we're almost done. So now I have turned everything right side out and it looks good. This is my stitches or my understitching right here. And yeah, so now this is where I may differ from the pattern. So the pattern wants you to do the French seams. I think it will be fine if you just serged. So I could be wrong. This is my first time making this dress, but I mean, how easy is that? I guess French seams are not that complicated. The only time I've done French seams are for like a pillowcase I made. So I don't know. I just rather, since I have a serger, I just rather use a serger. But so I'm just gonna put them right sides together and pin it all the way down, and then I'm gonna serge all the way down, and then I'm gonna turn it right side out and see if like it doesn't fall nicely or something. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that and show you what happens after. Oh my gosh, so I totally spaced out and I forgot to film the last part of finishing the dress. So I'll just tell you guys what I did. I left it hanging for I think like 5 days. So I think it should be good. And I just went ahead and hung it on the door so I could like see the line. And also I figure the lines on the door kind of helps like cut it across evenly. So let's see, can you see the bottom hem? So just make sure the top of your hanger, like the bodice part, is even so that when you're cutting it is obviously even. So I pretty much just got my scissors and I cut straight across. You can kind of cut at a slight curve if you want. One side was really like a lot longer, so it was just easier for me to kind of cut across. And then to finish it off, I just did a double rolled up hem, meaning I pressed up 1/4 inch using steam and my Easy Press Mini, and I folded it up again and pressed it and just did a 3mm stitch straight across to finish it off. And this is what it looks like. I'll go ahead and try it on now. I also made another outfit because I had so much material left over. I can't say I love the top, but it's kind of cute. So I made, I'll just, sorry for the slightly weird angle, but it's a long dress. So I am super happy with this pattern. It looks super good. I'm wearing it over, you know, workout clothes, but yeah, it fits perfectly. I'm so surprised that the straps like were the perfect length because I'm short, so I'm usually having to adjust something like that. The armholes feel good, not too like high or low. And yeah, I think the serge seam is fine. So I did leave the tails out because I am gonna tuck those in with, you know, like a plastic needle. You just kind of tuck it back into the serge just to keep it neat. I don't want to have like any threads here. One thing, if you are gonna do the serge, or even if you're gonna do the other way, make sure this part is lined up. Like these two pieces are lined up perfectly, and that'll make it look a lot more polished if this lines up exactly perfectly. So that means you have to start sew from this part down to the hem. But yeah, I mean, French seams would be nice, but most ready to wear garments are like serge seams, right? So I don't think it matters. It's personal preference. It still like lies nicely. I feel like the French seam would add a little bit of bulk because it's kind of like a rolled under seam, whereas this is just like flat. The hem is definitely crooked. So one side is like, it's off by this much. So I will have to let this hang, which is what they want you to do. Let it hang for 24 hours, either on a hanger or on a dress form. I don't have a dress form. So I'm just gonna let this hang, and then tomorrow, hopefully, maybe this weekend, I'll be able to cut the bottom and hem it. But I'm so happy with this dress. It feels so comfortable, even with like over my clothes. It's super light and airy, and it just hangs really nicely. It was really easy to get on and off also. Like it's just like pull over the head. I just tried on this other dress yesterday that was too small and I almost got stuck in it. So I appreciate just being able to throw this on over super nicely. But yeah, so happy. I think this took me, I cut the pattern out yesterday, and then I started sewing at maybe 8 is like, or 8:30. It's 10:30 right now. So 2 hours with filming and I'm almost done. One thing also though, I could clip my seams better. So if you see how this part hangs, I think it'll hang a lot nicer if I clipped it closer to the stitch line, because I didn't want to go cut all the way through the serge. I only clipped it up to there. I think I have to clip it closer to the stitch line. But yeah, so I'll see you in a couple days. Hanging on here. This is what the top looks like. I guess I'll try it on. I just found these like old patterns and from my stash from like when I was a teenager. And so I'm like, oh, I guess I'll just try making a top like this. It just has a crisscross with a tie and a short or mid-length bias skirt. So I'll go ahead and try these on too. Okay, so I'm gonna show you what I'm doing to finish off my serger seams. And I don't usually do this. It takes a little bit of time and I just usually just cut it off. But since I want right here to be really nice and not fray, I tuck the tail of the serger in back into the serger seam. Hope that makes sense. And how you do that is you kind of just, so if you have a really long serger tail, it helps. You don't have to though, and I'll show you what you can do if it's too short, because that's what I did with that one. I just have like this plastic needle. I don't know if you call it a tapestry needle or something like that. It's just, I got it from like some craft kit. I'm sure they have it at the sewing store. I'm just putting it into, so if you look at the sergers, right? The serger seam, there's this side and then there's this side with all the loops. I'm putting this needle through the loopy side and kind of just going, maybe an inch down. You don't have to go crazy. So if say your serger thread is really small, like cut right here, put it in first and then put it through the eye. And then you can just pull it through. Hopefully your serger seam will allow for the fatness of this one. Otherwise you might need a smaller needle. It's just hard to find a needle with this type of eye. You could use a smaller needle and use like one of those little wire threaders, and that might help too. Yeah, so it just tucks it in there. It would be really hard to get it out, so it's pretty secure, I think. Yeah, that's the last finishing touch, and now I can go ahead and try it on. Okay, so here's the slip dress on, and it looks really good, I think. And you can ask my husband if it looks like something I made or something I bought. And yeah, he said it was nice. So I made it in the smallest size, and I feel like that was a good choice. It's very forgiving, and I don't feel like there's a lot of gaping here or here. So yeah, I think that was good. I'm 5'1", just for reference, so I'm also on the shorter side. So this is where the dress hits. It's a very nice midi length, like if you're wearing heels or something. And the cowl neck is perfect. I wouldn't want it any more because it would be too much, but you know, you want it to have some. You want it to be like, I don't know, like this. So yeah, super happy. Definitely get a drapey fabric. I was worried that this would be hot, but actually it's a thin enough material where I feel like cool enough, and it's not like super staticky. I also made a second outfit, which I'll try on. It's a combination of two very old patterns, so it should be interesting. Okay, so this is the second outfit that I made with the same material. I swear I only had like 3 yards, maybe it was 4, I don't know. But yeah, I got a whole nother outfit, kind of a similar feel, just because I wanted to try to make this bias cut skirt and see if it was as easy as making the dress. And it totally was. Like, yeah, it's just an elastic waist skirt. I found these 2 patterns in my super old stash from like high school time. So I don't know if you can still get these. If you can, I will link it down below. This one, most likely, or you could find something similar. This is just McCall's 2255. And I made size 12, no, size 10. And just from the waist and the hip measurements. And I made version D. And it's just a simple elasticized waist with a casing kind of skirt. There was a slit, but I just wanted to do it really quick, so I just sewed right down. And yeah, I think it's comfortable. I would wear it with like something else too. This top is not the one on here. This is Simplicity 5016 or 5016, and I made version A. So B is shown on the front. This is version A, and this is the back of version A. So it's just like that crisscross tie, kind of open. I guess I don't mind this much being open. I don't know if I would wear it with like something lower, but I figure I made straps already, like even skinnier straps for the Sicily dress. So even though the pattern called for ribbon, like I used kind of a lot of ribbon, like 45 inches times 2, plus a little bit for those little hook or the loops. I just made my own ribbon since I had to make these, and these were challenging, but since I did it already, I knew I could make wider ones. And yeah, I think it came out well. I did take some shortcuts. It's not perfect. I didn't want to do the blind stitching on the inside for the lining, and I didn't interface the lining. I just used 2 of the same material. It came out good. I also had bought these things on Amazon, thinking I was going to put these or sew these into my swimsuits. And this is just, you know, like your sports bra kind of cup, except these say that they're water resistant. So Yeah, well, it says it's water resistant and they're pretty thin. I think they are a little bit foamy, but I guess not so much where it's gonna like hold on to the water, hopefully. But yeah, I will probably, if I do wear this, I'm probably going to just tack these in. I already have it in this top because it'll be hard to wear a bra with this. But you could tack it in, meaning you just do like a couple stitches on the top and on the sides to hold it in place in the lining. You don't sew all the way through, you just sew this in the lining, and yeah, then you have your bra, like a push-up bra in there. Yeah, super happy with the Sicily dress. I really love it. It's really easy to get in and out of. I tried going in from the bottom, super easy. Going in from the top, super easy. And it just drapes really nicely. I think my next project is gonna be a black satin one. Hopefully I can finish it by Saturday since I have somewhere to go that I could actually wear that to. So yeah, thanks for watching. And I hope you do try this dress. It was like a learning experience sewing a bias cut dress or anything, and it was definitely not as hard as I thought. I think the most challenging thing would be if you have a material that you can't press, like it just doesn't hold a crease. That would make it harder. But yeah, otherwise this is super easy. I did it with my sewing machine and I used my serger, but you really didn't have to. So yeah. Hope you tried the pattern. I will link it down below and I'll see you in my next video.